Ladies and gentlemen, here we are right across the street from the Four Parts Police Station. I'm here with Prophet Greg from the Millennium Council. Now, Prophet Greg is one of those Rastafarian brothers that is deeply enrooted in Rastafari and the movements. No matter where on the planet Earth a protest like this exists, he would have to be here. Prophet Greg, welcome to Four Parts under not so nice circumstances.
Yes.
How are your feelings today?
Well, the family is gathering to protest another victimization and violation of fundamental human rights where Rastafari is concerned. So it is pleasing that we can have a spectrum of representation from various mansions and groups coming forward in solidarity and collective security against these sort of atrocities that is still perpetrated against the Rastafari community in 2021. And we are talking about following a recent apology that was done in Parliament against the Coral Garden massacre. So this is where I give thanks that the vanguard is still very much alive and well, and we are here demonstrating in front of the Four Parts Police Station where the incident against Sister Nzinga King took place.
Although Prophet Greg, there was an apology, but it has been happening from time and time. Again, recently, it was that little girl that was refused admission in school, and then it was Jador's reggae artist children that was trimmed and feed a meat meal. And you know, these children are vegan. So it has been happening from time immemorial, even though an apology was given, but it's still considered to be happening. What further step should we take to enforce?
I give thanks for such question because based on what had happened, the Rastafari Millennium Council, which is the abbreviation for Ethio Africa Diaspora Union Millennium Council, has written to the Prime Minister expressing our outrage where such atrocities has now happened following the apology of the Coral Garden massacre in Parliament. What is even more astounding is that there are now 3 cases in the courts where this sort of abuse for locks are continuing. Hence, it becomes imperative now that since there are active court cases, the Millennium Council has effectuated a protest letter and an activism that we hope to take further forward to the United Nations.
But as you can see with Ras I Reliant, semi-conscious and lay in the hospital, and his beard locks for over 50 years was separated from him.
And that is one of the incidents. We have identified 3 of the incidences. This current one, being the I Reliant Ancient as the I state, who actually met the Prime Minister in 2016 when we had the Indigenous Treaty March. And for such a joyful reception, it has now been blurred by this activity. We have the Virgo family's daughter, who recently now was barred, or attempt to be barred by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, because there is an educational act in place that constitutes these sort of Afrocentric dresses to be barred from entering the educational system. So this is the copy of the letter that we had posited to the Prime Minister on August the 4th, 2021, expressing our outrage, having gone through an apology, yet you have refused to change the legislation that goes and comes with apology that will further, what you would say now, curtail any form of these sort of atrocities, human rights violation committed against the Rastafari community and as well as Afrocentric group, because the Virgo family's daughter It's not a Rastafari, but they are following African tradition where the locks are concerned as a part of their African identity. So we are moving ahead and looking for a public bill to be presented, as I will quote, as how we have recommended. Most Honorable Prime Minister, we recommend your immediate intervention through the powers of the Office of the Prime Minister to effectuate an Afrocentric commission to research the connected changes in legislations and call for a public bill, Human Rights Violation and Race Discrimination Act, to enforce the current development to protect the indigenous rights of community against blatant crimes of human rights violations. And this is important because in 2012, the Jamaica Intellectual Property Rights Office issued practice notes to protect both the Maroons and the Rastafari communities, where their tradition and indigenous rights and cultural rights are concerned. It was further developed into a national indigenous right policy in 2012 and 2017. Yet the Supreme Court seems oblivious to all of these developments that is being done in moving to protect indigenous Afrocentric groups in Jamaica. The Supreme Court has no knowledge of these things. That is very questionable. And the Supreme Court has the authority, if they sense injustices and human rights violation, to recommend legislative changes. They have that authority. And also, they can use test cases like this very one, and the ones that with Bingi Irish Alliance, to set precedent, to enforce the changes. So we are questioning and looking forward even to see if the Supreme Court will act based on our demonstration, and hence it becomes necessary for the Rastafari community to lodge this complaint officially to the United Nations so we can pressure from the international body where human rights are concerned to force legislative changes so acts like these atrocities that caused the demise of Bingi Irish Alliance and a prominent ambassador of large ancient who traveled for the mission of Africa in 2009, traveling to Ghana, traveling to South Africa, traveling to Ethiopia, linking the two cultures that we have now, a heritage site in Ethiopia and Pinnacle in St. Catherine, to effectuate the connectivity of these cultural rights. So we demand changes, and our effort is to take this to the United Nations and appeal to the highest body where human rights are concerned for the pressurement to come forward to the Jamaican government to effectuate these changes, and I give thanks.
Perfect, Greg. One more question before you go. I know you're extremely busy, sir, but if a police officer is questionably uses firearm to kill someone, they are immediately removed from frontline duty. Now this is equivalent to that because there has been a separation of culture from this young lady Nzinga King. What should be done now with this police officer taking immediate effect?
Let me stress the importance of what the I just asked. Psalm 76 is the whole meaningful, sacred prophecy in regards to the fulfilling works of Rastafari to this day, which speak about Judah having the Almighty coming through that lineage, and goes on to say in verse 11 that we are to vow the sacred vow and pay homage to our Almighty. So the very Psalms have been fulfilled by Rastafari sons and daughters, revering the Emperor Haile Selassie I. So this thing is sacred because you're talking about a vow, a Nazarite vow. You're talking about the vow of ancient Israel where our locks are concerned, our separation and our sacredness unto the Most High. So this is embedded in our very identity. So such abuse, it not only requires an immediate removal of such an officer, but it needs to be charged criminally. Where this violent act is concerned, they need to enact criminal charges. That is why we have to change the legislation, and any sort of human rights abuse, it is a crime against humanity. And where there's a crime, people are to be charged and punished according to the law.
Thank you very much.
I stand.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Prophet Greg from the Millennium Council here to give his support on the criminal act of what happened to little Nzinga King. The journey continues as we covered the grounds right across the street from the Four Parts Police Station where it all started on the 22nd of July.